So we talked a little bit about what the input and output harnesses do. Now we actually have them connected. And this is a temporary setup, but in general, I'll tell you where you would want to connect these. So these two this is the J1, this is the input harness, so this is where the P2140 gets its power from. These are the two grounds. So these would ideally connect to your negative terminal on your battery. You can ground them to your chassis, but some people have had problems. And theoretically, in reality, it should be the same as having these connected to the negative terminal, but it hasn't worked out for a few people, so I would connect them directly to the negative terminal. The two reds here are the positive wire, so these would connect to the positive terminal on your battery. These are also known as the constant, so you want these connected to your battery at all times. And this, the yellow wire, is the accessory. This is how the P2140 knows that you've turned your car on and off. So the accessory or switch is actually the yellow wire connects to a circuit in your vehicle where you have current that's only available when your car is on. So right now, just for test purposes, I have this connected to the battery, but I have a switch that's on-off switch that will act as my ignition. So when I press it to 1, I've turned my ignition on. When I press it to 0, I've turned my ignition off or my car off. The blue wire is not connected, and since I'm not using it, I isolated the blue wire so that way there's no accidental contact and something doesn't fry and my car goes up in flames. So on the output harness, the 8-pin Molex connector, so the red or the two blacks go to the negative. So the negative could be, you could splice your wires. Some computers come with a wire harness out the back where you have grounds hanging out. So these go to the negative side of the circuit. The two reds is your primary output. So these usually, these are going to be either 12, 18.5, or 20 volts. So these will go to the main output of your PC, or main input, I'm sorry. These go to the main power input of your PC, and these are positive. The brown is the secondary output, and usually you'll use one of these ground wires or black wires in conjunction with the brown wire. And the brown wire is actually the positive whenever you connect these. These I'm not using momentarily. If you have amps, you would want to use the blue wire, which is remote on. So I have all these temporarily also isolated so something bad doesn't happen to my car, since I like it. So this circuit is only a half amp maximum circuit. That means if you go over half an amp, you blow the circuit, and that's where your P2140 is going to start acting funny. The rest of it is probably going to work in some form or fashion. So if your outputs are flipped or your timing's off, you're probably blowing your circuit. Okay, so now that we have our setup ready, everything is connected, I'm just going to flip a switch. So I'm going to turn off my bench battery power supply. So that pretty much means if I was in my car, this is where I would connect the P2140 to the positive and negative terminals on my battery with the ignition off. So nothing's happening, there's no outputs out of the P2140. So now I'm going to turn my ignition on. So I'm going to put this to 1. Now you'll see a steady LED. So the P2140 is powered on. You'll see and hear the fan spinning. On the load testers, you'll see the bottom one is our primary rail, and that's 12 volts. The top one is the secondary rail, and that's 5 volts. So right now the P2140 is booting. It's during the boot lockout process, and during this process, if it it's pretty much in a lock state. That means it's going to boot up all the way and give your PC some time to boot up as well. So even if you turn off your ignition to off, it's not going to shut down. Okay, so back to the load testers. So we have 12 volts on the primary and 5 volts on the secondary. So just for demo purposes, I'm going to put a load on the primary rail, 3 amps, and I'm going to put a load on the secondary rail, 2 amps. I'm going to turn both of them on. And right now, the load testers are drawing wattage out of the P2140. So the primary rail is drawing 35 watts, secondary rail is drawing 9 watts. So really quick, we're going to show you how to use a multimeter in case you need to measure the output voltage of the P2140 or any other power source in your car. So I have the 2 leads in my hand, the black, which is the negative, and the red, which is the positive. What you want to do is briefly, or just contact these leads to the negative output out of the P2140, which is the black, and then connect the positive of the red output to the red of the leads, and you'll get a reading on the multimeter. If you reverse these, which means you connect the negative to the positive output on the P2140 and the positive lead of the multimeter to the negative output of the P2140, you'll get the same voltage reading with a negative sign in front of it. That means it's measuring reverse current. Okay, and we're going to briefly do the same thing with the secondary rail. Close to 5 volts. And that's about it. So thank you for watching the video. Hopefully now you know how to connect a P2140 in your car, or at least you have an idea of what you need to know. For the configuration, I really briefly went over it, but if you want more, page 11 of the P2140 manual will explain more about different jumper configurations, so you get the right outputs for your hardware. So again, thank you for watching, and hopefully next time we'll do a video on the P1900, and maybe we'll also do a video on how to power up your laptop.